So we started talking about this back in 2022, sort of halfway through the American run of the previous tour, where I was informed that there'd be, the new tour would be drawing heavily from the Somewhere in Time album, and starting with the first song being called Somewhere in Time, and which is funny enough actually, it's the first concert I ever went to as a kid was I went to see Iron Maiden on the Somewhere in Time tour, and so I kind of remembered quite a lot about that show from back then. Always made an incredible impression on me, and obviously I remember the Blade Runner references and things, so that was my first sort of start, was to think about that film again. And I can remember the Tyrell Corporation building was a large pyramid, and it was quite ominous in the city. So I thought, well, a pyramid would be a good place to start. And I noticed that in general, triangles were like a recurring motif throughout the film. So this is kind of what I started with, really. So I started off getting my plans and my sort of fixtures together, and just sort of putting together like the rough amounts of fixtures and the right quantities and proportions that you think you're going to need of the different types of lights, the hard edge, the soft edge, the tight beams, the washes, etc. And then you go from making, your 2D drawings there into then making them into a 3D version. And this is like the little thing I did on my visualizer at home. So I got to this point where I thought it's starting to look as I was imagining it to. And then if you sort of pan up, Ryan, you can see that I feel that it's quite similar. I feel like that's a good interpretation of the idea, which is nice because it means it's that much easier to convey as a concept for the band and management and things. Like, I can show them that and they've instantly got a good idea of what it's supposed to look like. But it also has to be quite versatile to incorporate a lot of the other songs that have a completely different atmosphere, which you can do by removing the LED elements. Then sooner or later you end up with just something looking more like a normal rock lighting rig, which is nice. So you can just introduce these elements as you wish throughout the show. It gives it some depth, gives it somewhere to build to and from. So that was how I approached the lighting rig for this tour, and yeah, I'm fairly happy with it so far. First things first, we've got Mac Aura pixels in the front truss. I'm going to highlight them and bring them back now. Nice LED light source, very bright. They have a very, very dark blue in them, very close to a UV, which you can't see at the moment because the set scrims aren't up, but they're touched up with UV reflective paint. So when we put the lights on the front truss on, we get these nice little punchy images that come out from the futuristic cityscape. So that was the reason for using those. We've got the auras there in white. That's a good modern version of a Parcan, which people always associate with Iron Maiden. Those big old, huge lighting rigs. Obviously it's not really practical or possible anymore, but this is a good modern alternative. Still got the same beam shape, same kind of colours, and you get the same movement as you bounce them around the lighting rig, which is really important for a rock show. This time we've defined all the trusses with Skeptron. It's just to make a feature out of the truss positions. We used to use truss borders, but this time we decided to go for just this RGB to sort of recreate like a neon effect to match the futuristic part of the stage set. And we've got a lot of hard edge profile lights, cams-ins made by Ayrton, very good, very bright, very punchy, as you can see. Yeah, and a lot of crowd lights. Like to have the arena or stadium or whatever as bright as possible. I see lots of light, smiling, happy faces. That takes care of that. And 6 follow spots at the back of the room there. We also have a lot of SGM Q8s, which is like an LED strobe, which we put at the end of the trusses. These can double up as extra audience lights, and they're full colour mixing, so we can incorporate them into the show. I'm using a Roadhog. It's nice and small, nice and light. We kind of invested in this stuff when we did the 2016 tour on the 747. Even though we had a much bigger plane that time, space was still at a premium. So it seemed prudent to just get the smallest consoles available. And I've got my processing rack as well, which handles a lot of the information. But the actual desks very, very small, very light. I can carry them around. I can even carry that one on an aeroplane as hand luggage. So that was all about just size and convenience, really. And they get the job done really well. Happy with it.